This is an amazing video. It's a bait truck. Do you remember the days in LA when they had bait car where the sheriffs would have a camera set up in a car and wait for someone to steal it? I love the music. Like Escape from New York music. Now, you're going to see three SUV cop vehicles pulling out of this driveway.
Bait truck activated. What is it, 45 here?
So you got one here, another here. He's going to pass them.
I'll just do 40 to piss them off.
I don't see any signs. No, 45.
Snake
Wait.
skin in the truck.
I'll just do 40.
Yeah, 45. Oh, damn, we might get it.
No, he got him on my ass once or twice already.
It's like playing one of the video games that long ago. You're going in to kill all the aliens. Dude.
Ow.
Now, his window is up. Their windows are up. So that would make it even harder to hear the exhaust coming out of the vehicle being too loud.
All right, Officer Emmons, Police Department. Any weapons in the vehicle?
I don't answer questions.
You don't answer questions. Okay.
He also didn't identify his name. He just said officer.
Registration.
Sure. What'd you pull me over for? 'Cause I wasn't speeding.
Unusual noise from the exhaust.
Lying ass motherfucker. Well, I got everything on dash cam, so when we
He's also notified the cop he's being recorded.
go to court for that.
Good day, sir. Is this car registered to you?
Oh, yes, sir. This is my car.
I'll still have to see your license and registration, sir. I believe you were speeding coming across the bridge.
Richard, can I have you step out for me?
Now, he's having him step out of the vehicle, but he hasn't said that there's any officer safety issue, something that needs to be discussed.
Can I pat you down?
No.
And when he says no and the cop says okay, then what does the cop have any fear of officer safety for? Because if he had it, he would insist, but he would explain why. So far, it's just an exhaust thing.
Okay, let's step to the back of my truck, okay? Or the
Back of my truck, cop's nervous.
of your truck. You have a massive knife in your pocket. You have a massive knife in your pocket, okay? We're gonna take that when we talk. Any other weapons on you?
I don't answer questions.
Okay, I'm gonna let you know that if you don't inform me of a firearm, if you have one by state law, that's a crime.
Now, this is one of the central questions Direct D asks. It's a great question. Why would you have to say something against your Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination? He's saying I don't answer questions. That's not the same as saying I want my lawyer, in which they can't ask you questions. But since this is a bait sting, I think they want the cops to talk. But he hasn't lied.
Do you have a firearm on you?
I don't answer
Very,
questions.
very specific
I don't
question.
answer questions.
Very specific question.
I don't answer questions.
That is a very specific question. Hang out with my partners, okay?
So now the truck is surrounded by cops, and there's been no indication that there's a threat to their safety.
We're gonna stop over here, Westwood and
Also, you can hear the sound of the exhaust. The engine may be idling a little high for a V8, but it doesn't sound like it's irregular, like it would be over 70 decibels and be a noise violation, which could be a separate grounds to pull a vehicle over.
weapon up here. Looks like an axe.
Now, here's the provocative thing. They've got an axe there as bait. The guy's hands are on the phone. He's not making any threats. He's merely filming them, so both his hands are occupied. Right now, everything else is in plain sight. That part's okay.
I'll provide it to the driver.
Once again, his hands are not anywhere near the axe. He's not making any threatening gestures. He's merely filming. He can't possibly be a threat. Now the cop goes in to take the axe.
What's my fucking door for?
Obviously no consent.
You can't be opening the door.
Here's why I personally believe this officer got everything wrong. The cop pulled someone over for loud exhaust, but then decided to take it an extra step further and take the axe from the vehicle just because it was there. Here's the problem. Seeing an axe isn't enough to legally seize it. The Fourth Amendment protects against unreasonable searches and seizures, meaning there needs to be reasonable suspicion that the axe is an imminent threat. They need more than just a hunch or general nervousness to justify invading your privacy or property. This case would hinge on whether the officer's actions were truly based on an immediate threat or just an overreaction or a fishing expedition.
And the fishing expedition is where I think this was, because the reason for the stop was fake. By the way, I love the graphics. I just don't have that kind of ability, man. Let's look at the last part here where he gives away the basis for the traffic stop, making it all a pretext, and therefore everything can be thrown out. Of course, you have to ask a local Arizona lawyer that.
Anything else on you that's gonna poke me, stick me, stab me? Otherwise, put me or my friends in the hospital.
No.
Okay.
Now pay close attention to what these cops say as they rifle through my friend's truck. They slip up and let us know why they really stopped him.
Yep.
It wasn't for loud noises. It was for a sticker.
So that.
Yeah, I thought it was a straw too. I'm on, by the way. I thought it was a straw. Yeah, dude, I just saw the piece of wood and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's a fucking axe. That'll do some damage.
That's why I was, because I saw it and I was standing like kind of this way.
But did y'all? So is enough to get me? What I really want to do is open the door just to see if there's anything in here. So I'm like, we're good to remove the weapon. Just like having a gun, right? You can remove the gun.
Now, this is a cop that's basically not sure of himself, and he's seeking corroboration from the other cop, which I don't think he gets.
So
Yeah.
Jeez.
As soon as I saw the ramp on his car, I was like, yep.
you guys recognize it?
I slowed down.
No, did you see the back? It's like buck bleeds and all that stuff. Okay.
That's exactly why he pulled over from.
All right. Oh, in the back.
Now they're looking at the sticker. Showing you what's called a motion to suppress evidence. And the reason for the motion to suppress is because the traffic stop was a pretext. The cops admitted that they stopped the truck for a bullshit reason, which is because they didn't like what the sticker said. He has a First Amendment right to say what he wants to say on that sticker. And the cops can't just pull you over because they don't like your sticker and then give you a fake reason to arrest you and take you into custody. From there, everything else would fall. So the stop is a pretext. Getting confiscating the weapon or charging with a weapons charge ought to be dismissed as well. So here's an example of something I did back in 2014. And this is kind of just to show how you would explain the facts. You would need a lawyer to do this. And this is an example of a motion to tell the judge there's no legal authority for the stop, no legal authority, therefore, for the charges. And here is a very important case. Now, this case is Ninth Circuit, so it would include Arizona. And this is a case that you really need to know. It's United States versus Evans, as I call it, published decision here in California, because it was done by the Ninth Circuit. What happened was a felon in possession was stopped for a traffic stop. And then the guy was subjected to a drug sniff, which he did not consent to. And the holding was, look, you only cited him for a traffic violation. So once you've completed that, you can't now go on, as Direct D correctly noted, a fishing expedition to see what other charges you can bust him for. And this is a very important decision because it also was taken from Rodriguez, United States, with a Supreme Court case, very important one. So let me just show you a few important parts here. After following Evans for approximately a mile to a safe location, Zirkle pulled Evans over for violating 2 Nevada traffic laws, prohibiting unsafe lane changes and violating a vehicle too closely. Minutes later, nearby at nearly 7:20 p.m., because they're showing how the stop was prolonged, the operator returned with a clean records check on the car on Evans and McConnell. So at this point, the guy had no wants and warrants. And so, he basically has nothing more he can ask this guy. Immediately after Evans walked away, Zirkle asked Evans he could ask a few more questions. Now that's where you should say no. Zirkle inquired, but he turned and walked back to Zirkle. That's a mistake. That's an implied consent. Zirkle inquired whether he had any contraband in the car, mentioning marijuana, meth, coke, and heroin. He answered the question by denying it. You do not answer these questions. Then he refused consent. Okay. And sure enough, the good old doggy found it. Observing that this is a classic subterfuge traffic stop, the court concluded this kind of traffic stop for an extended period of time was an unlawful seizure in violation of federal law. Exactly what Direct D was talking about. He was seized beyond the amount of time that's reasonable under our Constitution. The search was an unlawful one. Remember, this is Ninth Circuit federal law. It's really good because it'll override conflicting state law. Such unrelated precautions which do not stem from the mission of the stop itself, therefore cannot justify extending a traffic stop. I want to also show you some notes that I put together on this. A deadly weapon would include a firearm if they found a pistol, would include any loaded or unloaded handgun, pistol or revolver. So far, he's definitely there. Now we get to 133102. By the way, I looked at this case, State versus Berryman. That was an example of a defendant felon in possession of a shotgun, and he got busted under the statute. And also, I noticed that the words concealed and transportation are not defined in the statute, so I could see if they had any special meaning. And here we go. A person commits misconduct involving weapons by knowingly, he has to know it, carrying a deadly weapon except a pocket knife, concealed in his person or within his immediate control, in or means of transportation, when contacted by a law enforcement officer and failing to accurately answer the officer, if the officer asks whether the person is carrying a concealed deadly weapon. Failing to accurately answer. The cop asked the question, and as Direct D correctly noted, he just said, I don't answer questions. So he's not admitting or denying. So there is not an inaccurate answer. He just refuses to answer. Why is he compelled to answer this question and put himself in jeopardy? Why would this statute override the Fifth Amendment right to against self-incrimination? It can't. I don't see how it can. But you'll need an Arizona lawyer for that. But look at some of the exceptions here. This is what I wanted to point out to as well for everyone, is you have this section, but you also got to go further down to see if there's any qualifiers or whatever. Subsection A, paragraph 2, shall not apply to, and then it has 1, 2, 3, a firearm that is carried in a manner where any portion of the firearm or holster in which the firearm is carried is visible. I couldn't tell from the video, was that gun out there where it could be seen? If so, then the statute doesn't apply at all. There isn't a violation because it can be seen. A holster that is wholly or partially visible. So if the gun is visible or even partially visible, he can't be charged with the statute. Then it says someone's license. Is he licensed to carry this weapon? All right. And then this one. This is a definition of the code. Contacted by a law enforcement officer means a lawful traffic or criminal investigation, arrest or detention. It has to be lawful. So if you argue, and I think you can, that the traffic stop was not lawful, was a pretext, he cannot be charged with this offense because this offense is dependent on a lawful or lawful investigation. This video presents a lot of very interesting questions, and I think if he were to get a local Arizona attorney to file the motion to dismiss and also show the videotape of the admission by the cop that he really pulled him over for the sticker, that I think that's enough to get this case tossed. And what's interesting about this for me is, you know me, I'm pro law enforcement all the way, but I do not support anyone who breaks the law, and I do not support anyone who infringes our liberties by abusing the power of their position. You know me, there's arguments on both sides. This to me was an amazing example of deciding whether or not your First Amendment and your civil liberties are being protected. I'm in favor of this kind of stuff because the good cops will take heed of it and not do it. And the cops that get nailed, well, they serve as a warning to others. There's nothing wrong with that. Remember, they went out driving around a truck, not honking their horn at anybody, not creating any nuisance, not trying to distract anyone. They simply wanted to see if they would be pulled over by the cops and if being pulled over was based on a lie. Hey, you know what? I think they did a brilliant job here.